gentlemen, and welcome here to Talladega Super Speedway as we continue on the regular season for season 57 of the RTG Talladega Challenge Series here on the Flatout Racing Network. I'm Seth Cole, flying solo here tonight. Michael Norman should be joining me in the booth next week as we are indeed in the home stretch here before we're going to determine the drivers that will be battling in this season's playoffs. So far, we've had 7 races and 7 different drivers have gone to victory lane. Last year, we went a perfect 10 for 10. Will we be able to do that here this season? Still a lot of big names that have not found victory circle that might be able to do it here this evening. Also got the quarterfinals for the bracket challenge going on here tonight. A couple of battles we'll be keeping an eye on. Also, we're going to highlight here this evening as well the losers bracket, because that, of course, can come into play. One driver is going to move their way from the losers bracket up to battle for the finals in the bracket challenge. They'll battle the winner's side of the bracket. So a lot of drivers that, a couple of weeks ago, were saying were eliminated. They got new life, potentially, and still have a shot of being able to win the whole thing. Last week, we saw it was Tim Nofsker going to victory lane. He is 11th in the point standings. Right now would be the only driver fitting the criteria of a driver with a victory and inside the top 20 in points, his win counting towards a playoff spot. Two drivers still find themselves on the outside looking in. That would be Nate Balser, who is in the field tonight, and David Lawson, who is not. 24th in points right now for Nate Balser and 33rd in points for David Lawson with only 3 races left to go. Got to get into the top 20 if that victory is going to count towards a spot in the postseason. Drivers lined up on pit road, and they will be rolling off in just a moment. Another former winner from this season gets his first pole on the year, and that is the number 8 of Jeremy Jeffries. So he'll have good starting track position for this one. Only time will tell if he can maybe become the first repeat winner on the season. He's going to be alongside of Tom Dixon. That's going to be your front row for this evening's event. We'll go through the starting lineup in just a moment here as 33 drivers scheduled to take the green flag here tonight for 66 laps of racing. So as Jeffries will lead the field out into turn 1 behind the Ford pace truck. Gave you the front row. 3rd place starting spot's going to go to the 93 of Curlin Hurst. Looks like he may be dropping back. Bernie Mobbs would start in 4th. We do have a Lawson in the field here tonight, but it's not David Lawson. It's going to be the 0 of Kyle Lawson, who I believe, at least since we've started broadcasting this series, is making his Tally Challenge debut. Uncertain if he's made previous starts here in this series, maybe back before we started broadcasting the series, but we'll see what he can do here tonight, as he is going to be slated for inside of row 3, Hank Middleton, in some new colors on that Monster Energy Chevy Silverado. He's going to be on the outside of row number 3. Bob Dixon, Wiley Coate, they're going to make up row 4 with the top 10 completed by Joe DeSpirito and Kelly Causey. In row 6, we find Glenn Harris and JT Mayhew. Row 7 with Richard Martin and Billy Elliser. Nathan Balser, we talked about him, needs to get up in the top 20 in points. He's going to share row 8 with Bob Seminara. Row 9 finds Terry Bombard and Milt Surratt, and completing the top 20 will be Greg Palmer and Jessica Shelton. Grant Wesley is back in row 11 with Mark Paglia, the defending champion Grant Wesley. Ken Roberts, he's going to share row 12 with John Godfrey. Bobby Farrell's in row 13 with Rodney Sullins. Row 14, Chuck McClure and Cy Jones. Josh Metallic, he's all the way back in the 29th position with Tim Nofsker, last week's winner. They complete the top 30, and then the final cars in the field will be Donnie Garrett in 31st, Jeff Crivello 32nd, and Brian Schilling brings up the rear of the field in the 33rd position. 6 drivers who won during the regular season last year have yet to go to victory lane this season. We're going to be talking about them a little bit later on this evening, but it's time to get tonight's festivities underway. Another 66 laps await these drivers. A checkered flag awaits one driver and a potential spot in the playoffs as we are underway in race number 8. Seems only fitting, race 8, and the number 8 leads us to the green flag, right? Jeffries and Kyle Lawson going to move into first and second as Tom Dixon was a little slow there on the start. Looks like Bob Dixon going to jump up there, try and help the Batmobile number 45. Joe DeSpirito stays on the inside line there. He'll try and draft up to the 0 as here come the Dixons on the top side. The 143 of Bob Dixon got a nice shove there into turn number 3, pulls down to side draft on the right rear quarter panel of Jeremy Jeffries, and he will have the momentum coming out of turn number 4 as they look 3 wide further back. Bob Seminara now has Billy Elliser to his inside through the tri-oval, thinks better of it, tucks back in line, double file to the start-finish line, and Jeremy Jeffries will lead lap number 1. Oh, we got a wreck! Mark Paglia back there in the middle of the field, and this is going to be a big one. Saw a number of drivers that looked like they got swept up into it. Caution is out. Field will be frozen. They will maintain speed, maintain position coming back to the start-finish line. Let's see who was all involved. There's the 28 of Paglia. That Rodney Sullins in the 38. Down on the apron in the back straightaway. Bobby Farrell and Tim Nofsker are back here as well. Looks like there is damage on the right rear of the 92. Uncertain if there's damage on the 088 Jeg Chevrolet of Tim Nofsker or not. You've also got a couple other drivers back here. Curlin Hurst, who opted to drop to the back after he was slated to start 3rd. Jeff Crivello there in the 56 as well. It's tough to know unless you're right on top of the wreck if certain drivers that are back there, if they actually were involved in the wreck or may have gotten on the brakes in time to avoid. The only drivers I'm seeing with visible damage are the 92 and the 28, but certainly when we go back at look at a replay, we'll get a better understanding of all who were involved in this first caution of the day on lap number 2. Go back and look right now. See, usually too, when we have these early cautions between lap 1 to lap 5, we'll have a random few drivers that will come down pit road and top off the fuel tank. A lot of your race leaders stay out to maintain the track position, but it does kind of shuffle up pit strategy at the end of the races. Here's a look at it. Paglia in the 28 going to make some contact as he drifts up into the 079 of Nathan Balser. He then comes down across the nose of Rodney Sullins, and you see Bobby Farrell did get a piece, and I believe Tim Nofsker, though minute, did get a little bit of the incident. We'll go back and take another look at it from another angle, but I think Nofsker ran into the back of Bobby Farrell when they were both kind of pinned up there to the outside wall. Here's another look. Paglia right there, you see the contact, he then comes down the track. I think for a brief moment there, I think we were 5 wide. Go back and take another look. I think we were, for a brief moment, 5 wide. Let's see if I'm right. On board the helicopter cam. We're going to slow it down a little bit. Let's see. Balser's going to look to the inside of the 43. All right, there's the contact right there. Also to the inside of the 43 right there? He might be. If he's to the inside of the 43, that's technically 5 wide. And I don't think we've seen them go 5 wide this season prior to this. Oh man, Greg Palmer got so lucky. Almost got clipped in the left rear quarter panel. Farrell with nowhere to go. And watch that 088 bright neon yellow truck. There you see into the back of Bobby Farrell. Moderate damage. Don't know how much damage to the nose that's going to cause as far as maybe having the 080 a little bit off the pace. Certainly got to be glad if you're Tim Nofsker that you had that victory last week, giving you the automatic locked-in spot, provided you stay in the top 20 in the point standings into the playoffs. Paglia has come down pit road a couple of times, as has Bobby Farrell, getting some repair work done. Like we had our top 13 elect to stay out. Rest of everybody else came down pit road, some to just top off the fuel tank, others to maybe take on some tires. And we saw Bob and Tom Dixon really get that outside line working. They are going to reap the benefit of it as they will be the leaders when we go back green. One of the drivers that did come to pit road was Jeremy Jeffries, who started on the pole position, so he'll be restarting back in the 14th position. Joe DeSpirito, Glenn Harris, Bob Seminara, a couple of the others that were up inside of the top 10 when that caution came out that gave up that track position to come to pit road. We've got more drivers pitting there. That was JT Mayhew and Cy Jones, looked like there, left side of your screen, that decided to come to pit road. They would have rolled off 7th and 12th, respectively, on this upcoming restart, so they're giving up some track position to get one lap better on fuel. Go back green, we're going to have 3 Dodges up inside of the top 5, as we're still going to have another pacing lap here. Bob Dixon, Bernie Mobbs, and Wiley Coate. All those Dodge Rams going to be up here inside of the top 5. You've got the Chevrolets of Tom Dixon and Hank Middleton completing the rest of the top 5 there, and the highest Ford is going to be Kelly Causey in the 6th position. That is provided we don't have somebody come to pit road here at the 1 to green. Is quite possible. All right, so let's take the opportunity here while we're under pacing to bring you up to speed on what the point standings look like coming into tonight's race. Chuck McClure currently holds a 13-point advantage over Josh Metallic. Chuck, of course, already locked into the playoffs with his victory. Rodney Sullins is third in points, 20 points out. Brian Schilling sits in fourth. He's 25 points back. Former winner of the season, Jeremy Jeffries, slots in fifth. He's 27 points out. Another former winner in Grant Wesley's 29 points out in sixth. Another former winner in Joe DeSpirito. He is P7, and he is 32 points out of the points lead. The final drivers right now holding on to top 10 positions, which would lock them into the playoffs at regular season's end. Bob Seminara, he's tied with Donnie Garrett. They are 44 points back each, and Jessica Shelton currently holds that 10th and final valuable position of pointing her way into the playoffs. She is 46 points behind the points leader. Tim Nofsker, former winner last week. He's 11th in the point standings. His win and being inside the top 20 in the point standings puts him into the playoffs at this point in time. And we've also talked about the other 2 former winners, Nathan Balser, 26th in points, and David Lawson, 33rd in points. Need to get up inside the top 20 for their previous wins this season to count towards a spot in the playoffs. As we get ready to go back green here, once we get the indication 1 lap to go. Flying solo here tonight as mentioned, so going to get you fans involved in the discussion here as we are heading towards the end of the regular season, starting to figure out who is going to battle for the championship and who is not. I mentioned the fact that 6 drivers from last season during the regular season that went to victory lane have not won this year. So I'm going to ask you guys, and let me know what you think in the comments. Who do you think of those 6 drivers has the best chance of going to victory lane here tonight? You could choose from Rodney Sullins, Donnie Garrett, Bob Seminara, Josh Metallic, and Kelly Causey, as well as Richard Martin. Those 6 drivers, who do you think's got the best shot? A lot of big names there. We saw Kelly Causey pull off that miracle in the regular season finale last year. Bob Seminara ended up winning the regular season championship, as well as going to victory lane. Donnie Garrett's been on a bit of a hot streak as of late. We saw him get a podium finish last week. He's currently slotted 8th in the overall point standings. It kind of seems like all those names that I just mentioned, they're all kind of on a bit of a positive run right now. Got some good mojo in their camp, so any one of them could certainly find victory lane here tonight. Or what do you think? Do you think maybe we're going to have a different driver outside of those 6 that I mentioned? Because there's a lot of other guys here that certainly are capable of going to victory lane. I mean, you don't have to look too far. Up here at the front of the field, you've got Bernie Mobbs there in 3rd, Bob Dixon, the race leader, Hank Middleton, former winner here in this series, Wiley Coate. Boy, how long a winless streak has it been for that Castrol number 6 Dodge? A lot of talent in this field, which is why it's so difficult to pick a winner. Even on the white flag, it's difficult to pick a winner. These guys have done this so many seasons, week after week, every Thursday night. They've become experts in super speedway racing. They know all the tricks of the trade and know when and how to exploit it at the right time. Let's get back to some racing here, working our first caution of the night. All drivers involved are still on the racetrack, still in the lead lap, so we still have 33 drivers taking this green flag here on lap number 7. Bob Dixon looking for a big shove from fellow Dodge Bernie Mobbs. He's going to get it. Now we'll try to edge ahead to the 45 of Tom Dixon, the shorter way around the racetrack through 1 and 2. Always seems to get the advantage on restarts. Then as they come off of turn 2, the momentum shifts to the middle or outside line. Wouldn't be surprised if Bob jumps up there to pick up Tom Dixon. No, he's going to stay down to the inside there with Bernie Mobbs, and that's going to cost him as Tom Dixon with Hank Middleton gets a big shove. And now look at the third line. Kelly Causey with Donnie Garrett and Jeremy Jeffries. They're going to move up to lane 3. Wiley Coate tight there on the bottom as he almost pushed up into the middle lane. Got to give some room here. And it's funny, too, because, you know, we've talked with the drivers here the last couple of weeks. We can sense it up here in the booth, and the drivers have told us they can sense it down there in these trucks. The anticipation, the aggressiveness as you draw closer to the end of the regular season, it gets notched up a ton. What would be a bump earlier on the season becomes a shove. The room that you would get earlier on the season, it's gone. A lot of door banging, a lot of trying to side draft and stall out runs. The blocks that you would normally not make at the beginning of a season, you start to make them here without any second guessing near the end of the regular season. The aggressive level definitely is felt by these drivers all the way through the field, and that's why I think it's getting so interesting into who's going to make it into the postseason and who isn't, because a lot of times you have no idea until we get closer to the end of this race of who even got a shot at being able to take the checkered flag each week. Kelly Causey with a big push there from Donnie Garrett. He got himself that lap led. Garrett's going to push him clear. Garrett now trying to move into second. Jeremy Jeffries right there as well, our pole sitter. Whoa! Dixon pushes up the racetrack a bit off of turn 2. Almost up into Jeremy Jeffries and almost got hooked off the nose of Wiley Coate. Got to be careful there. That inside line, while it is the shorter way around the racetrack, it is the area where your truck's not going to be quite at its happiest, especially in terms of getting it to turn left off of turn 2 and turn 4. Really tightens up. Last year, Kelly Causey got that victory. He would have pointed his way into the playoffs regardless. He was inside the top 10 by the end of the regular season. But would love to find victory lane for the second time in as many seasons. Bernie Mobbs has dropped back into that 3rd spot, and Glenn Harris is now up into the 5th position as you've got some drivers trying to make something happen on the 3rd line. That's Ken Robertson, Curlin Hurst, but they need more numbers up there. Good to see some double and 3-wide racing. Last week when the field got spread out near the end, we saw drivers trying to formulate an outside line, if you will, and they just couldn't do it. We asked Josh Metallic why was that, and he said drivers have gotten so good now at being able to lock up the bumpers, create enough speed that there is no opportunity for a second line to make any forward progress. I was watching a couple of drivers here in practice even working on that, locking those bumpers, making sure that there is no space between the rear bumper of the pushee and the front bumper of the pusher. And we're even seeing it right here. I mean, look at the tight draft we've got here down the back straightaway, the 00 to the 77 to the 8. Got to be careful with that, though. You don't want to get caught with chain bumping. I got someone that's thinking Donnie Garrett's going to get it done here tonight in the 77. That's a good call. Donnie Garrett has really had some good runs in the last couple of weeks. Last week, up inside of the top 3, had a shot of winning that race through the tri-oval. Could not get around Tim Knopfsker, but still inside the top 10, the point standings. And we talked with him last week, and he says, if I'm in a position to win, I'm certainly going to go for it. But right now, I'm just trying to point them to death. Top 5 them to death, I believe, is exactly what he said. Winning in this series is very important, but consistency, I think, is the key. Got a couple of drivers with some new colors here tonight. How about the 80 of Milt Surratt? Right now in that 6th position. True Value Chevrolet Camaro. Milt's another driver that was in the playoffs last season, pointed his way into the championship battle, got eliminated in the first round. Milt coming into tonight is currently slated in 15th. There's a number of drivers that are just outside of the top 10 that easily, with 3 races, including tonight, left in this season, still have a shot of being able to make their way into the playoffs. Milt Surratt is one of them, Bernie Mobbs another, Greg Palmer, Terry Bombard, Hank Middleton, they're all still mathematically in the hunt. Paglia, Wiley Coate, Bob Dixon, Jeff Crivello. And remember, too, that even if drivers are outside the top 20 in points, if they find victory lane here in the final 3 races of the regular season, they could move up into the top 20, and that win would count towards a spot in the playoffs. The drivers that would fit that criteria: Richard Martin, Cy Jones, John Godfrey, Billy Ellis, or Ken Roberts. It ain't over till it's over. You cannot give up. Talked about the race within the race for these drivers, and a lot of drivers put maybe more emphasis on the bracket challenge than they do on the race itself. Tonight, it's round 4 for the winner's bracket. Jeremy Jeffries and Donnie Garrett, who are nose to tail right now in 2nd and 3rd, they're taking on each other. Jeffries the number 1 seed, Garrett the number 12 seed here tonight. Brian Schilling, he is taking on Grant Wesley in the quarterfinals of the winner's bracket. Right now, update on where those 2 drivers are running. Schilling is in 24th, and Wesley is just behind him in 25th. You think they know where each other are on the racetrack? You think they didn't look at the bracket challenge coming into this race? I guarantee you they did. Kelly Causey about to come around and lead his 7th lap of the race. Interesting to see when that caution came out. Drivers electing to come to pit road on laps 3, 4, and 5. Who's going to be able to stay out a little bit longer? Who's going to be drawn to pit road the soonest if we indeed get around to green flag pit stops? Because we're getting close. Getting very close. These drivers went back green on lap 7. We're now about to complete our 9th lap. What's going on back here? Tom Dixon was down on the apron there. I think that was Tom. Might have been Rodney Sullins. I don't know if there was a little bit of a bad bump or someone saw something they didn't like. We're taking evasive action, but looks like we're okay back here for the moment. 3 wide, a couple of rows deep. Tom and Bob Dixon still hooked up. Joe DeSpirito and Bob Seminara were trying to make their way up the middle. Jessica Shelton's got Ken Roberts up on the top side with her. All this going on outside of the top 15. As you've got a 3rd line forming up there. Fast trucks, the 2 of Hank Middleton, the 39 of Josh Metallic. Whoa, having a little difficulty lining those bumpers up there down the back straightaway. A lot of movement. Tim Knofsker's there, Chuck McClure, and now Shelton and Roberts are going to add into that top line. Shelton now going to dive down on Chuck McClure. She's going to move to the middle groove, try and pick up the draft of the 22 of Greg Palmer. I said these drivers might get to a green flag pit stop. This is the area of the racetrack right now that we might have to look at potentially our 2nd caution of the evening and take that strategy out of play, as Tom Dixon got a big shove from Bob Dixon. Shelton saw that coming. She's going to try and lead the inside line now. 3 wide. Palmer put in the middle, and he's in the sucker hole. He's going backwards, not even able to latch on to the draft of Kyle Lawson's 0. How about Kyle Lawson? Great run for him right now. Last time by, P9 in his debut this season. What a heck of a job right there. Love to see new faces pop up. A lot of drivers love the super speedways because they may not necessarily have been racing for a while or at all in the series, but it's very, very easy to be able to learn on the fly different drivers' racing styles, their likes and dislikes in terms of super speedway racing. A very quick go to school as opposed to a road course or a short track where everything is happening so fast and so close together. Obviously, everything's close together here at a super speedway, but everybody's in a same speed motion, if that makes sense. Jeremy Jeffries, I don't know if he was meaning to get out of line there. Glenn Harris jumped up there with him, but it's not working. They're going backwards. Top line led by Hank Middleton is going to swing around them, and the inside line is leaving them in the dust. 8 in the 08, they are heading towards the back. As Hank Middleton loves to see that inside line getting broken up. That top line's been pretty well formed, and they've got the two now side by side with the 31 for the second position. Jeremy Jeffries now finds a way in line down to the inside line in front of Tom Dixon behind Jessica Shelton. Glenn Harris still looking for an escape route. And Middleton, whoa, drifts up a little bit there. That's sketchy. Now gets back down in front of Metallic, but I'm sure Josh probably had to get out of the gas a little bit there. Ooh, Donnie Garrett, little tight off the corner. They almost made contact, and the caution's out. Yellow flag's out. I didn't see an incident, but I did see the caution lights were waving there through the tri-oval. Yellow flag for the second time tonight. What's it for? Oh, we got a wreck in the tri-oval. Nathan Balser and Greg Palmer. Tom Dixon's on pit road, so I wonder if he was collected as well. Greg's going to get that number 22 Chevrolet refired. Might have had a couple of harmless spins maybe through the infield grass as the race leaders waiting for the pace car to pick them up here heading into turn 3. Let's go back, take a look. Must have happened back inside the top 15, just outside the top 15, because I did not see the wreck. Had that pan shot there through the tri-oval. Oh yeah, this was pretty close towards the back of the pack. See how it starts. Tom Dixon's coming to pit road. Oh. 079 of Nathan Balser came down the racetrack. John Godfrey and Bob Dixon were collected up in this. Oh, if the 79, if he was trying to make a move, didn't realize the 22 was there, if he got maybe a bump from behind. Let's see if we can get a better idea. Just exactly what happened here. Balser was in the middle line. Slow it down a little bit. Oh. Grant Wesley in the 88 was moving up because the 45 and maybe even the 143 were coming to pit road. And when he pulled up the racetrack, he entered into the path of Nathan Balser. Balser gets into the back of Grant Wesley, and that bumper grabbed him down the track into the 22 of Greg Palmer. Get an idea, did the 143 give any indication he was coming to pit road? We know the 45 did. Take a quick look here, see if indeed the 143 was going to pit. Yeah, had his hand out the window, had indicated he was coming to pit road. Watch this again. Watch the bright yellow 88 near the top of your screen. See, the tough thing there for Grant Wesley is the fact that Bob Dixon was starting to slow and he was still up on the racetrack. He was not down below that yellow dashed line. So Wesley has to then slow and pull up in front of oncoming traffic. Coming to pit road, you saw where Tom Dixon was down below the yellow line. That's what you've got to do. And Bob Dixon just was not down low enough. had too many trucks behind him in that inside line, and it just stacked them all up there. Fortunately, it doesn't look like anybody really got that much damage. I was going to be a little bit concerned seeing the path that the 22 of Greg Palmer was spinning in, heading towards that blue inside wall just at the entrance of pit road, but looks like he missed it. He should be okay, as should the rest of the drivers that were spinning. John Godfrey should be okay. Nate Balser should be okay, so dodged a couple of bullets here that could have been really, really big wrecks with a lot of damage sustained. Terry Bombard's going to lead himself a lap. Grant Wesley's coming to pit lane this time, as is Bob Dixon. Oh, nope. Correction, Grant's going to stay out an extra lap. Look at that. Novsker saying, hey, I wanted that bonus point for a lap led, but Grant Wesley, make sure he continues to rack up those points, the defending champ. Making absolutely certain that he's going to be in the playoffs. His win already locks him into the playoffs, but ooh, wait a minute. Grant just disappeared for a minute. Oh boy, did he fall out? I don't think he's even going to get credit for the lap led. He disappeared before the start finish line, I believe. Yeah, they've got Novsker scored as the leader. Oh, Grant's back, but they had him scored in 29th. Might actually lose a lap there. They might have to rescore that lap back for him, since he blinked before the start finish line and reappeared after the start finish line. It may not credit him for completing that lap. I'll follow up on that in just a little bit here. Nobody was a lap down when that caution came out, so everybody's still on the lead lap, all 33 drivers. And with the lights still out, or still on the pace truck, we're going to step aside for a quick break, and we will be back here after the race break. Bring you back to the green flag. A third of the way through tonight's race here, race number 8 of season 57 of the Rolling Thunder Gaming Talladega Challenge Series. Go anywhere, because we're going to keep you in the loop of what goes on here under pacing. We're taking you FRN side by side. Light's going to go out atop the pace truck for the second time here under this caution period. Saw there during the F1 race break, we were on board with Jeremy Jeffries. The lights went out atop the pace truck, and then they immediately came back on, and we saw Tom Dixon's truck stalled out in the middle of 1 and 2. The engine going south on the Batmobile, and he will not reach the conclusion of this race. Tough break there for the driver of the 45, who was having a good run. He was up inside the top 5 in the early stages of this race, in the second position there, drafting with Bob Dixon. Certainly not the way he wanted his race to end, and that certainly shuffled things up with that extra lap of pacing, because you saw Tim Nofsker come to pit road along with Jeremy Jeffries, Wiley Coate. That extra lap of pacing drawing them to the pit lane, and going to have us kind of scratching our heads now of what these drivers are thinking in terms of from here to the checkered flag with fuel strategy. That turns the race lead over to the 39 of Josh Metallic. Got the 17 of Chuck McClure lined up in second. Kelly Causey will be third. Hank Middleton in fourth. And fifth place will be Donnie Garrett. Joe DeSpirito was scored in sixth. Seventh for Richard Martin. Eighth is Milt Surratt. Ninth, Bernie Mobbs. And Ken Roberts completes the top 10. Said we'd update you on the Grant Wesley situation, whether or not it would or would not score him the lap when he blinked before the start-finish line and reappeared after the start-finish line. Is currently scored 1 lap down. We will have to wait and see if that lap gets added back, or if he's going to have to get it back the hard way, potentially with a caution, as he would be the only truck right now off the lead lap and be in one of the 2 free pass positions. Lap 26, 41 to go is where we will restart here. Second restart of the night. And it's Josh Metallic who's going to lead us to green, as little gamesmanship there of waiting to see when the green flag was going to fly. Causey shoving Josh Metallic and Middleton shoving Chuck McClure. Pretty dead even between those two through 1 and 2. Josh isn't going to clear the 17, as now he's on the apron and dropping to the back. I was just told under pacing they were going to wait and see what happened after the green flag dropped. Something going on with the server in the running order. The 39 was being told he was in the wrong position, needed to be behind the 143. Not certain how all that occurred, but that's why he, I believe, is dropping back to avoid getting a black flag and a penalty. So something amiss going on as he's trying to drop back into the vicinity of Bob Dixon. Got himself the lap-led bonus point at least, and that turns the top position now over to the 17 of Chuck McClure. Yeah, they're showing the 39, the 92, and I believe it was the 00. All were issued with black flags. A couple of them might have just been, though, for possibly passing for the start-finish line. With the in-game cautions, if you're the truck on the inside line, you get a slightly better restart and get to the start-finish line before the truck on the outside line. It will give you a black flag. Those black flags do get cleared, but as we already documented with the 39 Josh Metallic, a little bit more sinister of a result for him, as he is now all the way back at the rear of the field. It does look like that black flag is gone, though, so now he can start making progress back up towards the front. Speaking of the front, that's where Donnie Garrett wants to go. He's moved up and found Joe DeSpirito in that outside line. 17, the 77, dead even down the back straightaway, and now the surge from the outside line. Donnie Garrett will go to the point. DeSpirito almost clear for second. Shelton on the apron, getting all sorts of loose there, right in front of Bob Seminara. A heck of a save. That truck was sideways a couple of times there. Keeps it pointed in the right direction after a couple of misdirections. And the inside line looks like its momentum is still there. That didn't really stall them out that much. Donnie now moves to the inside along with Joe DeSpirito in front of Chuck McClure. McClure with Shelton and Bob Seminara. Now Kelly Causey and Milt Surratt, they're all by their lonesome up in that middle groove. Third line trying to form. Got some numbers up there. Bernie Mobbs, Ken Roberts trying to get something going. As McClure now going to jump out of line. He wants to go back to the front, hoping Kelly Causey and Milt Surratt can get him there. Ooh, Donnie Garrett got down there on the apron with the left side tires. Ken's jump from the middle to the top. These drivers right now, they are jostling for position. A lot of slicing and dicing going on from about the third, fourth position on back as the top two, for the time being, remain single file. Donnie Garrett just led his third lap of the race. Kelly Causey has led the most, 10 laps in total. 4 laps led for Bob Dixon, 3 laps for Donnie Garrett, 2 for Chuck McClure, also 2 for Hank Middleton, and 2 for Tim Nofsker. Jeremy Jeffries, I missed him, he led 3 laps, and then 1 lap led apiece for Jessica Shelton, Wiley Coate, and Terry Bombard, as well as Josh Metallic. I don't like the way this looks here, middle of the pack. Trucks are dancing, and it's not the good kind of dancing. You put 1 foot wrong, and there's going to be a bunch of twisted ankles. Oh man, look at them off of turn 2. McClure trying to pin the 77 down. Garrett getting tight off the corner. Oh, don't do that, guys. Kind of door bang, trying to stall out the lines when you're chain bumping or that close together. Shouldn't make side-to-side contact, because that's going to more than likely get both of you stalled out and run over by the trucks behind you. Drivers appear to be willing to take that risk right now. A chance of making their way into the playoffs could be on the line for Chuck McClure. He's trying to become the first multi-time winner on the season, and more importantly, grow his points lead in the overall standings. Get those bonus points by regular season's end by being the regular season champion. We saw what they were able to do for Bob Seminara last year during the first round. Neither lane wants to give an inch. McClure again forges ahead on that middle line. Donnie Garrett then fights right back on the inside line through the corner. Pretty even distribution of trucks back there for each respective line. And you've got now a third lane that is up there and starting to make their way towards the front. Hank Middleton, he's kind of been the leader of that third line all night long. He had really Josh Metallic as his wingman, but Josh he got kicked to the back with that black flag. Now it's Ken Roberts who's trying to push the two up to the front. And they've got a number of cars up in that line. Glenn Harris is there. JT Mayhew I saw was in that line. Greg Palmer, Metallic's there as well. Jeff Crivello. I've also noticed the 88 of Grant Wesley lagging back a bit there. I don't know if that's by design or if he may be dealing with some aero damage. He is with the lead pack, but if you look all the way back there, there he is. Wow, that is really tight there. Off of turn 4, Donnie Garrett all over the back bumper in every sense of the word of Chuck McClure. A lot of back and forth movement there as well. You don't want bumper grab to come into play, because I'm telling you right now, folks, if a wreck takes place up here in the front of the field, everybody in that camera shot right there, they are going to get involved. We are going to have ourselves a massive one, and we've seen a couple of them here this season, and just how they play out at the end, for the end of the race, of who still has a shot of winning and who's basically then just role-playing as a survivor, trying to, as a vulture, pick up every position, every point that they possibly can. Grant Wesley, I now have an indication of why he's just kind of running at the back there, not wanting to tear up his truck, because he is still being scored the lap down that we saw him lose when he blinked across the start-finish line. So he's basically just waiting for the attrition, waiting for the caution, not wanting to be involved in it, so that way he could be the recipient of the free pass and get back on the lead lap. So good strategy there by the 88. Mark Paglia has lost the draft. He is over 18 seconds behind this lead group. We saw him involved in the first wreck of the day. And subsequently, he will, well, more than likely within the next, I would say, 7-8 laps, he will probably get put a lap down. Is no friends for Chuck McClure. Donnie Garrett, Joe DeSpirito, Jessica Shelton, Bob Seminara all jumped up to the top line. That drops the 17 from the lead. Now back to a battle for 5th with Kelly Causey. Bill 3 wide back here. Milt Surratt stuck in the middle line. Chuck McClure leading that inside line, and top side it's now Brian Schilling in the 4. With Tim Nofsker and Wiley Coate trying to make something happen. That third line has looked on occasions here tonight like they can make the forward progress. But then they stall out or they lose numbers. I'm not sure which it is. At one point, Hank Middleton had that third line up as high as a battle. I think it was for 3rd or 2nd. Other than that, they've really not been able to make their way up towards the top 5. And they've tried it a number of times. There you see again, a lot of their numbers gone. They had about 5, 6, 7 trucks up there in that outside line. Now they're down to 4 in that middle line, and everybody else wrapping the inside line. Jeremy Jeffries make a move there down to the bottom on Milt Surratt. Well, I don't want to jinx him, but look at that 0.79 of Nathan Balser. This is the run that he needs right now. 26th in points. Needs to get into the top 20 after winning the season opener for that win to count towards a playoff position. And last time by, he was scored in 17th. Now I think he's going to be somewhere around the 10th, 11th spot. We'll wait until our telemetry indeed updates. Give you the exact official spot that he just last crossed the start-finish line. But he is doing a good job. And just in front of him is Bobby Farrell in the 92, who also was involved in the first caution of the evening. Had rear-end damage, but that has obviously not affected his speed. He is now in the 8th position. Balser is behind him in 9th. Right now, if you take a look at the drivers we've got up here inside of our top 5, 3 of them could keep the streak alive of 7, or make that 8 for 8 in different drivers going to victory lane here during the regular season. Garrett, Shelton, and Seminara. But Joe DeSpirito, Chuck McClure in 2nd and 5th, they want to spoil that party. We've also got Bernie Mobbs there in the 31. Richard Martin, former winner from last season. He's now currently in the 7th spot. Richard comes into this race outside the top 20 in the point standings, so talk about an opportunity to kill 2 birds with 1 stone, get a win and get into the top 20 in the points, both securing you a spot in the postseason. I feel like I shouldn't talk about it because every time I talk about it, something happens and we end up not getting to it, but I gotta talk about it anyway. Keep an eye on the top left of your screen. Lap 40 goes on the board. These drivers went back green on lap 25, I believe it was. No, correction, 26. So we'd be right now about 5 to 7 laps removed from when these drivers would have to start thinking about coming to pit road. We've not seen a round of green flag pit stops just yet, and this would be the money stop as well. This upcoming pit stop would put them within the fuel window to make it the rest of the way. So it's all about execution. One mistake is going to cost you a shot of, if not winning this race, at least leaving week 8 with a decent finish and some good points. Like the 6 of Wiley Coate was having some connection problems. He was blinking a little bit. He is dropped to the back as a result. There's the 28 of Mark Paglia. They're going to go around him, and they're going to put him a lap down. So now he and Grant Wesley would fall into the 2 lucky dog positions should we get a caution. Side-by-side battling for the 6th spot. That's where you've got Bernie Mobbs, the 31, Jeremy Jeffries in the 8. Well, folks, you tune in every Thursday night to watch these RTG drivers go at it at Talladega Super Speedway. We appreciate that. We want to see these drivers duke it out later on this weekend. A number of these drivers in the field will be taking part in the NSCRA Talladega special event, the 8th annual Talladega event. That's going to be this Saturday, October 22nd, airing on JTN at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so be sure to tune in for that. Drivers might be getting a little bit of practice in tonight for what they'd apply in that upcoming spooky race. Starting to see some radios lighting up. We might have some drivers pitting. Let's keep an eye on this. You'd be close to make it the rest of the way on fuel at this point, but here we go. Bunch of drivers coming down this time, and oh, we got a spinner. Was that Middleton? It was Middleton. He gets it on, well, he's in the grass. He was trying to get it onto pit road. I don't think the caution's out. Nope, you can see that the lights are still on green. I don't know if Middleton got into somebody or locked up the brakes, but no caution, as the majority of that group got onto pit road safely, it appeared. And now we'll look and see about this second pack. Chuck McClure, Jeremy Jeffries side by side for the lead. I think this, well, I was going to say, I think this is an indicator that Jeremy Jeffries will stay out an extra lap, but now, like he wanted to cut down in front of the 17. Let's see, is he coming to pit road? Yep. So is McClure. Oh, everybody trying to get on the brakes. Oh, Milt Surratt goes around. Is that going to be up towards the racing surface? Would that bring out a caution? Doesn't look like it. I think we're still green. There's that group that left pit road. Trying to find the drivers that still stayed out. Where's the 4 Brian Schilling? There he is. Tim Nofsker, Billy Elliser. I believe those are the 3 we are still waiting on. They were the only ones that also stayed out an extra lap. They should be to pit road this time, potentially. Yes. But look how aggressive they're able to be coming to pit road. Oh, did they make it down to pit road speed? I don't know. Billy Elliser, final driver onto pit lane. Going to be keeping my eye on our telemetry, see if anybody might have been caught speeding, as Joe DeSpirito, Jessica Schulten, Donnie Garrett, and Bob Simonera have got themselves lined up, and they're going to bypass, they're going to blow by these drivers that are just coming off of pit road. Oh, Hank Middleton, we saw that issue he had there, spinning into the infield grass, and he took his car to the garage. So he's going to finish in the 32nd spot. That's a tough break there for Hank. Still got to see where Brian Schilling, Tim Nofsker cycle out in all this, but I don't see how 2 cars are going to be able to beat 4 or 5 now as you add Richard Martin to this quartet. There's Billy Elliser just now leaving pit lane. The 4 and the 088 are going to be up here somewhere. There they are. They've just now merged onto the racetrack, just starting to get up to speed. They are going to be at a huge disadvantage, even momentum-wise here down the back straightaway. They've just got to hope they can merge in line, as DeSpirito will blow on by them. Joe DeSpirito, former winner this season, already locked into the playoffs. The 3 drivers, the 4 drivers behind him, they have not found victory lane here in season 57. I'm really curious, based off the numbers there of when these drivers came to pit lane, they all came to pit road with about 24 laps to go. I don't think these drivers can make it the rest of the way. I think there's still one more pit stop coming up. And if my calculations are right, it's going to be in the final 5 laps of this race. Now, we could have a couple of scenarios take place. We could have where a caution comes out between now and that point. That throws all the fuel strategy out the window. But another thing, too, that we have to entertain the possibility of is this race ending under caution. If we get to the point of no return and the race ends under yellow, somebody might be able to pull off, and I harken back to this because I myself couldn't believe it when I saw it. Grant Wesley was on fumes when he took the caution flag at the point of no return. He was able to clutch and save enough under that pacing period. It was 3 or 4 laps under pacing. He was able to save enough fuel to get around and take the checkered flag. We could see that kind of a scenario here if the caution falls at just the right time for these drivers. We have seen so many times that fuel strategy plays a part in the outcome of these races, maybe just as much as the dreaded big one. Back to last year's season finale, we thought it was going to be Rodney Sullins or Chuck McClure that were going to win that championship, and they felt they couldn't make it on fuel, gave up the track position and subsequently that championship trophy to come to pit lane. Grant Wesley said, "I think I can make it." He stayed out, and he eventually went on to get that championship trophy. Well, there's no championship on the line right now, but there is a potential trip to the playoffs on the line. These drivers, they've got to be thinking far ahead towards the end of this race, even right here, right now. When they hit the line, there'll be 18 laps to go. The way they cycled out here when they crossed the start-finish line, after the cycle of green flag pit stops, Despirito the leader, Shelton second, Donnie Garrett in third, Bob Seminara's fourth, Richard Martin fifth, Jeremy Jeffries sixth, Chuck McClure seventh, Bobby Farrell, Josh Metallic, and Bernie Mobbs were the top 10. Talk about execution on pit road. A couple of drivers that pit road hurt their chances of winning this race. One of them you see just now about to get lapped. The 00 of Kelly Causey, who was out in front for 10 circuits here tonight. He's now going to go a lap down to the leaders. Not too far ahead is going to be the 10 of Terry Bombard. Milt Surratt and Cy Jones also lost out on the lead pack, and a few drivers currently that are hoping a caution could save them. They wouldn't necessarily go a lap down anytime soon, but they're only in a pack of about 4 or 5. Kyle Lawson, Wiley Code, Curlin Hurst, Bob Dixon, and Billy Elliser. Right now, they are slated 21st through 25th. Got 19 drivers on the lead lap that are in this lead group by my last count. Rodney Sullins being the last of those. Also kind of got the race within the race going on right now. With Kelly Causey going a lap down, that now moves Mark Paglia out of a lucky dog position. Causey and Grant Wesley would currently be the lucky dogs should we get a caution. And you're starting to see this group of 4 who have been working together prior to that round of green flag pit stops. They're getting left out to dry on this inside line. Jeremy Jeffries is leading the charge on the top side, trying to go coast to coast, pole to win here tonight, and trying to pick up his second win on the season. Trying to snap that different drivers going to victory lane and as many races streak that we've been on here during the course of the regular season. Terry Bombard going to go a lap down there in the 10. And I have received confirmation. These drivers right now about 5 laps short of the finish. So I said that prior to the green flag pit stop, they came a lot sooner than I expected, but I said that was the only pit stop they were going to more than likely have to make tonight. Not the case. Everyone did a good job avoiding the speeding police. Nobody was penalized. No one received a black flag for speeding. That was on the first go round. Got to do it all over again. John Godfrey in the 7-Eleven just got a report. He just came to pit lane, made the left-hand turn to the garage. He will get credited for 31st here tonight. Jeremy Jeffries to the point. Chuck McClure clear for second. Josh Metallic finally gotten the gremlins of whatever that penalty was. Dispatched of those, he's now up to the 3rd position. He's going to clear for that spot down the back straightaway. Tim Nofsker, Brian Schilling up there as well, trying to get themselves all clear for the top 5 as Despirito continues to lead that inside line. Now remember, that group down on the bottom line, the 24, the 48, 77, 712, they came to pit lane a lap sooner than the drivers up there on the top side. That might be why Jeremy Jeffries and company felt it was so important to get themselves not only to the outside line, but also to the front. Leapfrog these drivers right here and now rather than rely on the upcoming pit stop to do so. And there are still so many different drivers that could muddy the waters in terms of throwing their name into the ring for a playoff position. Richard Martin's back there, Rodney Sullins I see, Bobby Farrell. Greg Palmer's in the vicinity, Ken Roberts. At a super speedway race, it's never over till it's over. There's Milt Surratt in the 80 coming to pit lane. He was about to go a lap down. Not certain if he's just kind of cutting his losses and coming to pit lane now that the leaders have caught him to make his final stop of the evening. Like Cy Jones also may have just come to pit road moments ago. He's now scored a lap down. Inside line found some momentum. They're coming back. Spirito got alongside of Jeremy Jeffries there out of turn 2 and down the back straightaway. That might be why we're seeing now what we've seen so many times in the past. Double file all the way back, and they're sharing just that one lane, that one center area between the dotted white hash marks through the corners. That's where the grip is, that's where the speed is, and both lanes want it. Well, there's no doubt when you come to pit road, if you come to pit road under green flag conditions, you're going to just top off that fuel tank. There will be no tires. So how aggressive are you going to be on those Goodyears on the brakes, trying to get that thing woed down to pit road speed? And we saw a couple of bullets dodged on those green flag pit stops a couple of times. Thought we were going to maybe see a caution fly when Middleton spun, when Milt Surratt spun, but it all stayed down below. Yellow line, did not come back up on the racing surface and thus did not warrant a caution. May not be so lucky this time, which kind of says to me, I'd want to be in the position right now of those drivers that were the second group to come to pit lane, because you're basically having the first group set the precedent. If they screw up, if they make contact and that comes back up onto the racetrack and a caution flies, you might not have to come to pit road under that final caution period. Emphasis on the might. I don't know. Can you save 5 laps? I mean, one thing that I loved when we did our race break around the middle portion of this event was when we were on board with Tim Nofsker, we saw that even then, at that point in time, he was throwing in the clutch. Getting the throttle, immediately throw in the clutch. Was saving fuel even then. Fuel saving begins at lap 1 for these drivers, and it is extenuated through the entirety of the race. Oh, 77 gonna blink right there. Oh, that's not good because that's gonna stall out that inside line. Like he's good to go though. Looks like that connection problem has settled out. There's some shoving going on here at the front. Chuck McClure, he is trying to tandem with the 8. Had a nice chain bump there between DeSpirito, Shelton, Garrett, and Seminara down the back straightaway into turn 3. Got to be careful with that, though. Can't bump for too long when you get to the entry of the corner. You've got to make sure that the bumps are square. You've also got to, you kind of have to time the bumps. A thing called chain bumping here, and if you end up getting ready to give a shove to one driver when you get a big bump from behind, from say the 3rd or 4th place truck, that can cause your bumper to not quite be square. It's a preemptive bump that you're not planning, and it can end up causing a wreck. And last thing we want to see right at this point in time is all these drivers at the front of the field get taken out. I have a feeling that this is going to be really fun to see who's going to be able to get the pit stop that they need to put themselves in position to then set themselves up for the position they need to be in to try and win this race. What are we racing to? Are we racing to the caution prior to the green flag pit stops? Are we racing to the green flag pit stops? Or are we racing to the caution after the green flag pit stops? Or are we racing to the caution during the green flag pit stops? I mean, I'm glad I'm up here in the booth and not down there in the cockpit of one of these trucks having to ask myself all these questions. Talk about psyching yourself up when you're getting ready for the most important pit stop of the night. Coming to 7 laps to go. These drivers at max can go another 2 laps before they'll have to come to pit lane. They're riding it out. They're hoping a caution will maybe save them. Ty Jones gonna yield way up top to the race leaders off of turn 2. Actually puts himself in the wall trying to stay up out of the way. That's a tough position there, especially when both lanes want the middle groove coming off of the corner. Might be having some drivers pitting. Look how the 24 is way down the track now, giving up that middle groove. I think the 24 and the 48, 77, they're coming to pit road. Can they execute the pit stops perfectly? It all looked pretty good right there. Martin was in with them, Seminara, Bernie Mobbs, and Ken Roberts. That was very clean, very well organized. Now it's time for group number 2. What can they do? Jeremy Jeffries, Chuck McClure, Josh Metallic, Nofsker, Schilling, and I believe that's Sullins. Yes, it is. A lot of hands waving out the window down the back straightaway. So they're coming to pit road this time. Jeffrey swings wide. McClure goes way low. Everyone hard on the brakes. Nofsker got a little loose, but this group looked very clean as well. Second group coming down here, led by Wiley Coate. Gas and go for those drivers. Greg Palmer in the 22 appeared to have stayed out an extra lap. Got the 338 of JT Mayhew there with him. Len Harris. 3 are on the lead lap. The 00 of Kelly Causey ahead of them, and the 10 behind them are off the lead lap. And here come the final 3 to pit lane. Palmer, Mayhew, and Harris. Nothing lighting up here indicating that any penalties were given out, although I did notice the 24 of Joe DeSpirito is missing from this group. What happened to him? Donnie Garrett is now leading this pack. Bobby Farrell, what is the 92 doing? As he just nearly got the 77 and the 48 wrecked. And that just stalled out that group. Farrell's coming to pit road now. That just stalled out that group that was trying to reel in this lead pack, and now Nofsker gets bumper grabbed off Jeremy Jeffries. He almost gets into Rodney Sullins. These guys are trying to end this race under caution. My gracious. Now Metallic with a big push from Brian Schilling on that top line. Chuck McClure's got Jeremy Jeffries, and here comes the 77 of Garrett. My gracious. How did we get through all that without a caution coming out? Garrett's going to look to the bottom on Jeremy Jeffries. Seminara with a big run. No help down there. All by his lonesome. McClure going to try and make that bumper as wide as he can, but we still got 3 laps to go this time by. We've got about 10 drivers, I think, up in this lead group. Shelton's about to latch on to it. So yeah, 10, make that 11 drivers on the lead lap in this lead pack. Kelly Causey yielding to the bottom for the leaders. Curlin Hurst will do the same as they just came to pit road, lap machines. And now who makes the move? Who tries to make the move here? Donnie Garrett looks top. Rodney Sullins goes up there with him. No. Thought better of it. Was going to tuck back in line. He almost got turned by Richard Martin in the 43. Very indecisive, these drivers up here at the front as to whether they want to go or not. Waiting for the opportune moment. Two to go here at Talladega. You could just feel the anticipation there. Dilling's gonna drop down. That's for fifth. Knopfsker trying to offer drafting help, but he's not close enough. Richard Martin's gonna hook up with Rodney Sullins in the 38. They're gonna have a good run down the backstretch. Jeremy Jeffries, when do you make a move? If you make a move, does Donnie Garrett go with you? I think they're trying to just get around here to the white flag. Fifth place on back. They're trying to mix it up, knowing that they've got to make a move here and now. They can't wait. Stilling and Knopfsker are going to jump down to the inside line. No help. 43 now drops down there with him. White flag in the air. We're racing back to the checkers here at Talladega. McClure, Jeffries. Garrett takes a look to the bottom on Jeffries, and he's going to make a little contact. That's going to stall out the inside line. Rodney Sullins, he's now with Jeremy Jeffries there. How long do you wait if you're Jeremy? Oh, he took a look. He was like he was trying to eke to the outside, but he stays locked up to the bumper of the 17. Where do you go? Where do you make your move? Maybe off turn 4, maybe in the trioval. Jeffries jumps to the bottom. McClure throws the block. Contact made. Rodney Sullins, will he have a run here? He doesn't go with the 8. He jumps to the top on McClure. The Monero with a big run. And Chuck McClure's gonna win it. How'd they make it back to the checkers in one piece? Chuck McClure had to block 3 different lanes there, chose the middle line and ekes it out by about half a truck length. His second win of the season. I don't know, Chuck McClure might be one of the best drivers in figuring out which lane to block on the final lap, because my gracious, how were you to pick which lane was going to have the momentum, which lane was going to get you? He had to throw the block on Jeremy Jeffries off 4. He had to throw the block on Rodney Sullins in the trioval. And then from out of nowhere, a big shove from, I think it was Jessica Shelton to Bob Seminara, almost got him up alongside of Chuck McClure in that inside middle groove. What a battle. What a race. Only 2 cautions here tonight. And with a lot of the contact that was exchanged in the final 10 laps or so of this race, we probably should have seen a couple more. That was nerve-wracking for me. I can only imagine what the drivers, what's going through their minds. I'll bet about half of them, maybe more than half, are in a cold sweat right now. Maybe none more so than Chuck McClure. But McClure snaps the streak here tonight. 7 different drivers in as many races. McClure tonight becomes the first repeat winner on the season. First win 3 weeks ago, end of September, race number 5. And now he's going to continue to rack up those bonus points with his second win of the season. Well, he's going to need a new motor, looks like, and continue to extend his points lead as well, looking for those bonus points as the regular season champion. What about the bracket series too? What's the story on that? Let's find out. As it was Jeremy Jeffries versus Donnie Garrett coming into tonight. And Jeremy gets Donnie by 1 position. 5th for the 8, 6th for the 77. Brian Schilling versus Grant Wesley. Grant lost the lap after he blinked across the start-finish line, never gained it back. So Brian Schilling, 7th place, more than easily going to move him into the semifinals. So it will be Jeffries versus Schilling in the semifinals of the winner side of the bracket challenge. What a race. Let's take a look at the finishing results here, real quick, before we go down trackside and talk with our podium finishers. 22 of our 33 drivers finishing on the lead lap. Several drivers finishing off the lead lap. 4 drivers in the garage: Curlin Hurst, John Godfrey, Hank Middleton, and Tom Dixon. No drivers really out of the race due to crash damage. Dixon had the mechanical failure under pacing, and the other 3 drivers basically came to pit road after mistakes after the first cycle of green flag pit stops and just effectively decided to call it an early night. But nobody retired out of the race due to crash damage here this evening. That is good to see, especially with the fact that there's so much on the line getting down to the nitty gritty towards the end of this regular season. The playoff spots are becoming few and hard to come by in terms of getting them via a checkered flag. But let's see if we can now go down trackside and talk with our podium finishers. How about I just noticed there, 14th place for Kyle Lawson in his debut here tonight. Well done, him. Great performance there for the Zero. Let's see if we can dial up the guy that brings it home in the 3rd position here tonight, 712, Bob Seminara. Hey, Bob, it's Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got me?
Yeah, what's going on, boys?
Well, man, I'll tell you what. I can only imagine what was going through your guys' bodies in terms of emotion, in terms of anticipation, in terms of maybe even fear, because up here in the booth, I was going crazy trying to figure out 5, 6, 7 different times out of those final 10 laps how you guys were even still pointed in the right direction. Saw a lot of contact being made, saw a lot of near wrecks, near cautions, but we remained under green. And I mean, how in the world were you guys able to keep it all together and even get back to the checkered flag? Because it looked like, by all accounts, several times we should have had this race end under caution.
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, I mean, we were going crazy there, and yeah, I had somebody. I saw smoke. I almost went sideways and wrecked. But yeah, I wasn't sure how many laps were left. I know it was kind of late pit stop. I kept asking how many laps to go, but yeah, it was crazy. It was wild, and got a top 3, so that's good.
Oh, you get that big shove through the tri-oval. We're able to get alongside of Chuck McClure. I mean, one thing that I did notice was you were part of that first group that came to pit road on both cycles of green flag pit stops. Got a little stacked up there. I think it was the 92 was coming to pit lane. If that doesn't happen, did you guys have a shot at this victory? Was that what stalled out your opportunity and came up just a little bit too late?
Yeah, that messed us up a little bit. So they had position on us, but I mean that's how it goes. I mean it was just miscommunication back there. We had a lot of speed, and he had to come back in. Um, but yeah, no, at the end there, Jessica was with me, and we were gonna go high, but then Rodney went high, Chuck went high, and then I just kind of sliced the middle there and got the best I could.
So you came into tonight's race tied for 8th in the point standings. So we'll be finding out, I believe, in a few moments where you're positioned now heading into race 9. We know that you locked yourself into the playoffs last season in the regular season with a victory, won the regular season championship to boot. With these final 2 races, are you still looking for that lock in via win, or at this point in time has maybe the thought process shifted to just trying to get the consistent finishes to secure that playoff spot?
Yeah, a little bit of both. Yeah, I definitely want consistent. I want to move up in the standings. Um, I've made a bunch of mistakes this year and some bad luck, so I'm looking to tighten up a little bit. So yeah, I just need a couple of good runs and better position going in. And that's all. I'm not worried about the wins. One a year is good enough. I mean, I'm fine. I'll get my win in the playoff.
Bob, a great run for you here tonight. It gained you a spot. You're up to 7th in the overall point standings heading into next week. Looking like right now in good position to, if not win your way in, to point your way into the playoffs. So good luck on that. Before we let you go, though, we'll give you the opportunity for some thank you sponsors and shout outs.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Yeah, I'd like to thank RTG and Tally Challenge, all the admins and the owners for this. I enjoy it every week. You guys, FRN, just a quick FTMF and to Mobs Motors and Jessica ran a good race with me tonight. So yeah, we'll see you next week.
That's Bob Seminara, a third-place finish here tonight at Talladega. He'll look to keep this consistency up in the final two races of the regular season. Congrats on the good run, Bob. Best of luck next week.
Thank you.
Let's see if we can now get a hold of our second-place finisher here tonight, Rodney Sullins. Rodney, set up here in the FRM booth. You got me?
Yes, sir, I do.
And I'll tell you what, gave it all you got there on that top side coming to the start finish line, about maybe half a truck length short of getting your first win of the season. But man, you have been Mr. Consistency this year. Though we haven't seen you in victory lane, you're now the highest driver in the point stands without a win, second in points, 25 points out of that regular season championship. So, I mean, what have you got your eyes on the prize right now with the final two races left? Are you looking for that checkered flag, or are you looking maybe for those bonus points of getting the regular season championship? Because you're right there.
Both. I'd like to win one or both of the next couple of races, and it'd be nice to get that season championship. I believe Chuck's in first. Is that right? Chuck's leading.
That's correct. Yep.
Yeah, he's going to be tough to beat though, as we all know. But yes, absolutely. I want to win a race, but I want to finish. Finishing is where I look at first. I look at trying to get top 10, top 15, and then if the chance like tonight, I thought I had a chance to go for it, and I did. Came up a little short, but all in all, I'm happy. It was a great night. Really happy.
We've seen in this series how different things can play its part into the outcome of a race. We've seen how green flag pit stops play their part more often than the big one usually does. And most of the time we end up seeing the final pit stop of the night, it's usually somewhere in the vicinity of 10 to 15 to go. Here tonight, you guys had to make that final money stop in the 5 laps to go mark. How much pressure is that on a driver as far as the execution, getting onto pit lane, knowing that there's really not going to be any time to recover if you make a mistake?
Oh, Seth, tonight I will say too. I believe tonight's probably the best hot pitting I probably have ever done. But I knew that if I messed up, speeding, of course, but just not getting on there and off really good, you're going to lose the draft. He's up there with all the big dogs are up there. So I was really focused on it. It was crowded, getting on and getting off, and trying to keep it under 55, 55 or under. That was looking all around. I needed two more eyeballs to keep my eyes on everything. But I'll have to say tonight was probably my best hot pitting that I've ever done, and it meant a lot. It shows. That's why I was up there with those guys. Had some good pit stops, but waiting there to that close to the end, that was getting nerve wracking. I think we were all kind of waiting to see if a caution was going to come out, and then probably just finish without pitting. I think we all probably could have made it, but yeah, I knew as soon as I dove off the track on the pit road that that was gonna be the race. Whatever happened there was going to determine where my finish was.
Obviously, we talk about when we get down towards the end of the regular season in preparation for the playoffs, drivers, as we get closer, the anticipation, the aggressiveness to try and find victory lane, it ramps up. It continues to ramp up the closer we get. We saw here coming off of turn 4, Jeremy made a move, nobody went with him. You made the move to the top, nobody went with you. Seemed like everybody was trying to make moves. They didn't want to push somebody to the win. They wanted to get the win themselves. Does that attribute to the fact that we're getting down towards the end of the season? Everybody wants those extra bonus points for winning or the automatic lock-in into the playoffs. And with 2 races left, what adjustments do you make now for those kind of scenarios if we fall into them in the next 2 weeks?
Absolutely, those guys up there, I think they've all won a race. I haven't won a race this year, and it's been 2 years, I think, or 2 seasons since I've won one. I wanted to win one. Tonight, I was in position to try to do that. I came up just a little short, as we know. But yes, I wanted to win. Those guys wanted to win. Everybody wants to get the bonus points because they mean everything going into that chase. I mean, 1 point makes a difference, as we all know, and getting it, whether it's a win or the season championship and all that stuff. So, yeah, everybody, it was, I could tell when everybody started fanning out. And I actually was hoping Bob Seminara was going to go with me, but he, obviously did what he had to do. I don't know if he's won a race or not this year. So I think he's probably like me trying to get one. But yes, wanted to cross that start finish line first. Everybody does. Every point matters in this league. There's some of the best in the business doing this. I'm happy to be in second. To be honest with you, you know.
Well, as said, been one of the most consistent drivers this season that hasn't found victory lane. You were in that Final Four for the championship last season, making a good case for yourself to do it in back-to-back seasons. Rodney, congratulations on the runner-up finish here tonight. Before we let you go, we'll give you the opportunity to thank some sponsors and do some shout-outs.
Thank you, Seth. I want to thank obviously Flatout Racing Network. You guys do a great job. I know Michael's not here, but you, Seth, and him do a phenomenal job. I'm looking forward to hearing the replay tonight, even though you're by yourself, and I know it's going to be awesome. Rolling Thunder, Dave Cannon, Sean Prime, the owners, thank them, all the admins and stuff here, and Josh and Wiley and Tim who do this particular series. Black Rifle Coffee, Red Hots, Rockin' Brews, and Chevrolet. My BSR XFM teammates out there, thanks for anything they ever do for me. And thank you, Seth, and have a great night.
Absolutely. That's Rodney Sullins. He's your second place finisher here tonight at Talladega. He'll look to continue this momentum into the next to last race of the regular season next week. Best of luck there, Rodney.
Thank you, Seth. Have a good night.
Oh, we talked with Bob Seminara, who finished third after starting 17th. Correction, after starting in 16th. That was Rodney Sullins, who finishes second after starting 26th. And Chuck McClure down in victory lane after he rolled off the grid from the 27th position. Let's see if we can talk with him now. Hey, Chuck, it's Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got me?
Hey Seth, how you doing?
Well, man, I'll tell you what. We've seen you in this scenario so many times leading on the final lap. I don't know how you're able to predict where the run's coming from, which line to be able to block, but you had to block about 3 different lines here, maybe 4 different lines from turn 4 all the way to the start finish line. Has being in that position made you better at knowing where to do that, or do you have to take it on a race by race basis? Because I'm going to be honest, you make it look easy.
A little bit of both, to be honest with you. I seen Jeremy, which I appreciate him helping me. I really do. We got too good a pit stop there, but I seen him go low, and I thought, well, here they come, and nobody went with him. And I'm thinking, well, I got 2 other lines here I need to block, and just kind of kept my eye on the middle.
Now, obviously, coming into tonight's race, we had that streak going, 7 different drivers and going to victory lane in as many races. You break that streak, become the first repeat winner on the season. Maybe more importantly now as well, came in the points leader and will extend your points gap, trying to get those bonus points for the regular season championship. Was tonight a statement win for you here, saying to the rest of the field, hey, I may have gotten that win earlier on the season to lock myself in, but I'm still going to be a contender up at the front even before the playoffs start?
Exactly, and to be honest with you, I had a little chip on my shoulder from last week. I didn't like the way things went down, and I thought, well, the only thing to do here is to go in and show them.
Obviously now with this second victory, I mean, are we looking for 2 more victories here to finish out the regular season? Are you now focused more on just continuing to maintain that point gap to be able to get those bonus points for a regular season championship? I mean, what's the outlook here with 2 races left?
Well, I of course everybody wants to win every week, but if I can get my teammates up there and help them, I'll do it. If they're not there, yes, I'm gonna probably take a little bit more chance and go for it. But yeah, we need to work on getting them in.
One final question for you, Chuck, and I asked this about from Rodney earlier too. You had to make that final pit stop there with 5 laps to go. We've seen drivers make mistakes on pit lane even when it's with 20 to go. It seemed like just about everybody was able to execute here tonight. Does this kind of indicate to you that everybody has basically gotten all the mistakes, all the jitters out of their system? They are now in playoff mode, making sure that they're going to have execution at peak even here before we even get the playoff grid put together?
Exactly, they're all getting like super good. This is the hardest crowd there is to even get a top 10 against, let alone a win. So you're lucky anytime you can do that against these guys. But they're all getting a lot better, and uh, I really don't know where I can improve to keep ahead of them. They're just so good.
Well, a second victory here this season certainly doesn't hurt. Congratulations on the job well done. Gonna be interesting to see what you're gonna be able to do here. Maybe pick up another checkered flag before this regular season comes to a close. Should be a lot of fun down this final home stretch. Before we let you go back to your celebrating, Chuck, we'll turn the mic over to you for some Victory Lane's thank you sponsors and shout outs.
Well, I know you had to do it alone tonight, Seth, and I appreciate you putting on a good show. It's always fun to watch. Of course, I have to thank the admins here at RTG. Um, they're second to none. And of course, Jeremy and my teammates, I have to thank all them guys for helping me and sticking with me and calming me down when I was getting upset. Cause, like I said, I had a little bit of a chip on my shoulder after last week, but, want to say hey to my friends and family watching, and hopefully, we put on a good show for them.
Second win of the season for Chuck McClure. He continues to lead the point standings heading into next week. Congratulations on the job well done tonight, Chuck. Go enjoy that victory, and good luck next week.
I appreciate it, Seth.
So as Chuck McClure continues to celebrate down there in Victory Lane, that's going to bring our coverage to a close. 25 points, Chuck McClure over Rodney Sullins heading into next week. Josh Metallic, Jeremy Jeffries, Brian Schilling. That's going to be your top 5 in the standings. Joe DeSpirito, Bob Seminara, Donnie Garrett, Jessica Schulten, and Tim Nofsker are going to be your top 10. They would be in the playoffs via points if the regular season were to come to a close right now. Maybe the big name that stands out after all that took place here tonight, having that connection problem and finishing off the lead lap, Grant Wesley drops outside of the top 10 to 11th. He's got that victory that would lock him into the playoffs regardless, being inside the top 20 in the standings. And Nathan Balzer gained 2 spots here tonight from 26th up to 24th. If my math is correct, he is a total of 16 points outside of the top 20 in the standings with 2 races remaining. So things are going to get really interesting with only 2 races left in the regular season before we put together the playoff grid and find out who is going to be battling for the championship. If it wasn't clear coming in tonight, it's definitely clear leaving. Chuck McClure is going to be one of those drivers as he doubles down here in season 57 of the RTG Talladega Challenge, second victory of the season for driver number 17. Once again, thank you everybody for tuning in here tonight. Hope you guys enjoyed our coverage of race number 8. Michael Norman will be joining me next week in the booth as we'll be bringing you the next to last race of the regular season, pretty much setting the table for the regular season finale in 2 weeks' time. Next week, next Thursday night, we hope to see you back here with the green flag flying at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But I've been Seth Cole. Thanks for spending your Thursday night with me, and we'll see you guys next week as you've been watching another broadcast courtesy of FRN, the Flatout Racing Network.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of Flatout Racing Network and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Flatout Racing Network and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. Flatout Racing Network would like to thank